Let's now shift to our second speaker, and that would be our El Presidente, JR. JR is working on his, actually, he's working on his DTM. He has completed both his dynamic leadership path and his engaging humor path. He's level 5 for both. So he is working, as we said, on the DTM project. Its title is called My Distinguished Toastmaster Project. It is the first half of his DTM Pathways project. As you may or may not know, there are 2 speeches required for the DTM project. Once that's you're given access to that in Pathways, which is a speech in itself, isn't it, JR, as you and I found out. His speech aims to introduce his plan and vision for the DTM project, as well as to demonstrate his skills as a leader and public speaker. Please join me in welcoming Toastmaster JR, My DTM Project, My DTM Project, Toastmaster JR.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow achievers. Our timer, Joe, my speech is going to be 7 to 9 minutes. So just in case, I just wanted to let you know. The Distinguished Toastmaster, or DTM award, is the top level you can accomplish as a Toastmaster. We are blessed with many DTMs in our club. I see some people trying to join, so I'm gonna let them join our meeting in our club. And accomplishing this DTM status is like getting a black belt in martial arts. So black belt in Taekwondo, black belt in Judo, and so on. There are a number of requirements, and it takes a lot of time to accomplish your DTM status. I think the Toastmasters International website says it typically takes about 4 years. I finished my 2 paths in the Pathways system, so that's done. I have played officer roles at the local club level. I'm the president of our club right now, but in the past I played an officer role, and I also played an officer role at the district level as an area director. There are the requirements like being a club mentor or coach. You also need to be a club sponsor or do a speechcraft series, which I'm working together with Brad as we speak. And the final thing is really this DTM project I'm going to be talking about today. And it involves, as Fred just said earlier, 2 speeches. So the one I'm giving today is the first half of the speech. What is a DTM project? And I'm going to explain that a little bit. It is sort of a, I would say, apex of your Toastmaster career, as we discussed earlier. And in the project, you're supposed to demonstrate your ability to lead, and you need to be demonstrating your abilities as an effective public speaker. And you do that in a project that's helping an organization. So the organization could be our club or your work or anything out there, pretty much. So let me give you a quick quiz to make my talk a little more interactive. The question is, this is a true-false question. There is a pathway project dedicated to DTM. True or false? Would you mind giving your answers in the chat? Let's check who knows the answer. Somebody says false. Fred said true. Joe said, I don't know. That's really good answer. Yeah, exactly. So unbeknownst to us, actually, it is a path, not a path, actually, it is a project in the pathway. And the way it works is you have to contact the Toastmasters International, the office, and then let them know, and they're gonna activate that project. So that's a little secret I discovered thanks to my mentor, Fred, the other day. So it was very exciting to see my DTM project in my pathway dashboard. As you all know, I'm a college professor, and the inspiration for my DTM project came very naturally because I care a lot about teaching, and especially I care a lot about this field called STEM. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And I work on my field, it's in this case, information technology, or people also know it as computer science. So it does belong to this category of STEM. And as a professor, I see a lot of times, students really drop out along the way because of, many challenges in STEM. It could be preparation, it could be, other factors, especially in higher education. And one of the root causes of, students quitting is, I would say, biases, because in some cases, women students, female students may hear a comment like, "Oh, these women are weak in math," and that is really hurtful to female students. Or people would say something like, "Oh, you're Asian, so you must be good at math. But how come you're not good at math?" So it's very depressing, and that's why I would like to work on somehow reducing these biases as a root cause in terms of giving these challenges in STEM retention. Because the more biases we have in the classrooms, the more it's likely for us to be losing our students. And I mean, some of you already know because I've been talking about mindfulness all the time, including my technique in terms of really trying to stay calm when I'm giving a talk. So I'm a big believer in mindfulness. Actually, what it says behind my head is actually mindfulness. And that's why I thought about mindfulness, and maybe there's a connection, between mindfulness and biases. Maybe there's a way to leverage something like mindfulness and reduce biases in the classroom setting. So to those of you who are not very familiar with mindfulness, let me just briefly explain what mindfulness is. Mindfulness is this ability for us to really focus on the present, being able to focus. I would say that is really the best definition I've come across so far, because if you're preoccupied with the past, you always have these small voices in your ear saying, "Oh, JR, you're giving a public speech today and you're going to make a mistake," or forget about something. And if you're worried about the future, not focusing on the present, yeah, you're bound to make mistakes, you're bound to get distracted, and so on. So mindfulness is what allows you to focus on the present. And there are some known techniques out there, and the one I like the most is this very simple technique, just taking your time, take a deep breath, pause, and really to collect your mind and start thinking. So that's really the technique I use. But my project is really trying to leverage mindfulness to promote STEM retention in the classroom environment. And I think mindfulness can really help with retention, because mindfulness promotes these qualities like awareness. So in this case, awareness more about biases. Also, mindfulness promotes compassion, and mindfulness also promotes resilience. So when somebody says something very hurtful, you can really recover from that feeling of getting depressed and say, no, I'm not that, whatever you are trying to define me as, I'm not that person, and so on. So my vision for the Dtm project is using mindfulness to promote those qualities I just talked about: awareness, resilience, and also compassion. And I believe that those qualities will lead to reduction in biases in the classroom environment, and eventually that will have a positive impact on STEM retention. The immediate goal of my project is therefore to create this community and to build a forum among STEM educators, especially in higher education, to start a conversation on how to leverage mindfulness in the classroom environment. I mean, there are techniques, there are activities developed over the years, but we are not really taking advantage of all these available tools we have in mindfulness, especially in the STEM higher education setting. So I want to do a webinar to create that forum as a first step to start talking about how we can adopt mindfulness even more in the classroom environment. In order to accomplish this goal, you have to build a strong team. And I'm very happy to announce that I already have a team of higher education professors, in this case, faculty members. I have about 7, 8 people who is on board. So I'm fortunate to have a very effective team. My plan is to invite people in the community as much as possible to that webinar we're going to be hosting. I'll be doing marketing. We'll have to be doing some content development. The timeline is pretty short. I mean, we plan to do this in March, and we're also working on funding proposals. So hopefully we get some funding to even make our webinar more exciting. And if you know anybody around you who are STEM educators who could be interested in adopting mindfulness in their classrooms, please reach out to them, let them know, and tell them to contact me. Thank you for all your support. Thank you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster JR. And thank you for not only sharing about your DTM project, but introducing to us the world of mindfulness and how that might improve students who are in the STEM track. Very thought-provoking and very noble of you. Well done, JR.